8 common sources of heavy metals in your food. When you're buying food for yourself and your family and for us, you probably glance over the nutrition facts panel to make sure you're making a healthy choice. You may even look at the fine print in the ingredients list to see if there are any artificial additives or preservatives that you may or may not want to avoid. What you won't see listed, however, on the label is how much toxic heavy metals you may consume per serving. Yet that is exactly what may be inside your products.
What we eat and drink is one of the primary points of exposure for heavy metals. These toxins make their way into the food chain thanks to the decades of industrial pollutants entering the soil and water.
It's absolute madness. You see, in the past, many experts believed this wasn't a cause for concern. You know, the idea was that the human body is a perfectly capable machine of dealing with even trace amounts of heavy metals via its own detoxification pathways. But sadly, they were missing the bigger picture. Even though the levels of any metal in a particular food is low, like we've talked before, like the layers of an onion, our overall exposure adds up over time because many of the foods we eat contain heavy metals in small amounts. And this was said by a gentleman called Conrad Coyne from the FDA, and you can find that article linked below in the description.
To make matters worse, over the years, these toxins can accumulate and cause substantial harm, including to your heart health and your brain health. This is why reducing your exposure to heavy metals is so important, and it starts with avoiding some of the worst offenders.
It's so true, Anna. It's scary when you really realise. Here's a list, guys, of food and beverages with the highest amounts of heavy metals to watch out for. Right at the top is number 1. Drinking water. Water systems all over the world could very well have high levels of lead and so many other toxins. Many homes get water through pipes which corrode over time, leaking all sorts in there. So that again, Article 3 down the bottom.
Lead isn't the only toxic heavy metal lurking in drinking water. Mercury is another one of many toxins found in our water supplies.
And to help reduce exposure through your drinking water, you can use things like a water filter. Also, you can try a distiller, which is what we use. There's other things, and they can take out a lot of the toxins like mercury, etc.
Number 2, processed fruit juices. Many parents give young children a juice box to satisfy their thirst. Think it's a healthy option due to the fruit content. However, research shows many fruit juices also contains heavy metals.
One consumer report tested eye staggeringly 45 popular fruit juices, including apple, grape, pear, and fruit blends. And every other product they tested contained varying amounts of cadmium, arsenic, lead, or mercury, with half the brands tested having concerning levels. Article 5 below, check it out.
In some of the tested juices, drinking just 4 ounces a day is enough to cause harm. It's not just an issue for children either, since adults often drink more than 4 ounces, which puts them at risk too. Instead of juice, aim to eat organic whole fruit as a healthy snack.
Really crazy when you start to think about it all, Anna, isn't it? You
Definitely is.
Number 3, baby food, and this has been in the news. Children are especially vulnerable to the effects of heavy metals since their brain and body are still developing. Plus, compared to an adult, young children get a much higher dose of heavy metals by weight based on their size and the amount that they consume. You see, exposure to these heavy metals early on can affect their whole life trajectory, explains Jennifer Lowry, an MD chairperson of the American Academy of Pediatrics Council on Environmental Health. So, and you can find that down below. So it's particularly disturbing to learn that many foods targeted for infants have been found to contain heavy metals. One study, for example, which blew me off my chair, found that 95% of sampled baby foods contain dangerous levels of arsenic and lead. Study 6, read it.
To reduce exposure for babies, avoid rice cereals and rice puffs and aim for organic foods and a variety of organic grains.
Number 4, non-organic food. Many non-organic foods are riddled with a wide variety of pesticides. We know that, glyphosate. In addition to their other toxic effects, studies have found that certain pesticides contain trace amounts of heavy metals. And I was reading even in one scientific study, for example, tested 22 different pesticides and discovered that the presence of arsenic, chromium, cobalt, lead and nickel. Study 7 below. And what's more concerning is that heavy metals and pesticides exert a synergistic effect. Study 8. In other words, pesticides can amplify the negative effects of heavy metals and vice versa. Then about parasites. The combination of lead and a pesticide called dimethoate, for example, results in increased weight gain, liver enlargement and thymus enlargement as well.
Eating organic has many benefits, including studies that have found a reduced risk of cancer. If you can't eat organic all the time, aim to buy organic for these foods, since non-organic versions have been found to be most sprayed by the pesticides.
Something that comes up quite a lot, number 5, is brown rice. Testing by Consumer Reports shows that arsenic is a problem in many types of rice, and it just depends on which part of the world where it's grown. However, brown rice contains upwards of 80% of more inorganic arsenic than white rice. Article 9 below. You can reduce your risk thoroughly, rinsing the rice. You can also consider switching to other grains with lower arsenic levels, such as barley, buckwheat, millet and quinoa. I know it's not the same, but they are healthy alternatives.
6. Large oily fish. Oily fish is an excellent source of healthy omega-3 fats. Some varieties of fish, however, are extremely high in mercury. According to an FDA report, these include swordfish, mackerel, big-eye tuna, orange ruffly and grouper.
Yeah, I know. And number 10, given the high mercury levels of these fish, Anna, especially swordfish and cod, which we love, it's best to consume them in moderation or eliminate them from your diet. 7. Cheap spices. Depending on where many of them are sourced, spices can be contained with heavy metals. For example, turmeric has received a lot of flack in the media for its high concentrations of lead. See Article 11 below.
Based on surveys, scientists said that turmeric is being intentionally altered in India and Bangladesh, which leads to enhanced weight, colour or both. See the article in the description
below. It is crazy when you're taking something to eliminate inflammation and it's the opposite. It's accumulating heavy metals over time. It's absolutely madness. It really is, guys. So beware of that. Researchers have also found excessive amounts of lead and cadmium in dried basil, in cinnamon, dried onion, Article 13. To protect yourself, see if your brand routinely checks their spices for heavy metals. Ask the manufacturers. Number 8.
Yes, brewed tea. A study on brewed tea suggests that many varieties, especially those from China, contains unsafe levels of lead and aluminium. Pesticides may also be a contributing factor, since non-organic teas are among the crops most sprayed by pesticides.
Anna, it's crazy, isn't it?
Oh, I love my tea.
Researchers found that brewing tea for longer periods of time resulted in greater exposure. Check the sourcing on your tea. Fluoride in green tea is one. And consider taking an organic tea extract in a supplement form to avoid exposure from brewed tea, and we can put that link below. The bottom line, even if you manage to reduce your intake of these foods, guys, scientists are always discovering new sources of heavy metal exposure. It's in the news all the time. That's why it's so important now more than ever to detoxify heavy metals in addition to reducing your exposure. So no matter what happens, you're in a good place, right? And it's to start by detoxifying the body with a natural zeolite, which is proven scientifically natural. And for you today, if you're still watching, in the links below, we've included a $50 off coupon for your first detox pack with us. It's time for you to take control. This mineral is a natural detoxifier with many health benefits that binds to toxins, pollutants, and heavy metals. And when nanosized in the form that we have, the natural zeolite can travel throughout all the nooks of your body to detoxify on a cellular level, which is where metals are stored in your soft tissues, etc. By reducing your exposure to these dietary sources and detoxified metals, you can detoxify with natural zeolite and be well on your way to eliminating heavy metals so you can live a healthier, happier life. And as always, guys, myself and Anna,
we love and appreciate you.
Stay tuned for the next video. Take care.